Hey everybody, how's it going? My name's Joe. Welcome back to SNES is Life recap number 77, I believe. I'm wearing my Fancy Zelda shirt tonight, so I'm stupid because it's a green shirt. My green screen screws up with it, but it is what it is. Today we're going to be covering Space Ace, Rex Ronan, Experimental Surgeon, Suzuka 8 Hours, Super Pinball Behind the Mask, and Spectre. We're going to kick off with Space Ace. This is... So, in terms of what this is, Dragon's Lair and Space Ace were both Don Bluth productions on Laserdisc turned into arcade games. These are ports to the Super Nintendo. The Dragon's Lair port was equally awful. This one was worse. Neither of these games represented the source material well at all because you can't port a Laserdisc hand-animated arcade game to the Super Nintendo. It just doesn't work. They had to basically make it a completely different game with the general style and visual. And clearly I paused the game during the middle of this screenshot. That's my bad for slicing out a piece of the video for this that I wasn't paying attention to. So this is an action platformer. It is very timing based. You have to jump at the right time. You have to move at the right time. You have to shoot at the right time. And if you don't do those things, you will die. And you will die a lot. The game is very, very unforgiving. And to an extent, that is how Dragon's Lair in the original Space Ace worked. Is you died a lot. You just had to memorize the exact timing of when to hit a control or a button and what direction to push. This is a little more complicated than that, in that you have 4 directions and your guns and your powers and stuff like that, but it is still there. So it is very similar in that way. The game is atrocious on one thing. So I got a pretty decent way through a number of levels. My big issue with the game is you're about to see here. So there's like 12 levels or something in the game, and they are separated amongst each other like planets in the galaxy, okay? And when you finish a level, you have to fly to the next level in a space maze. There's no map in the book. There are maps online, but you're basically going to fly around this maze to find the other levels. And you can die in the maze by running into the walls or the asteroids. You do have a gun. And what happened is, I probably did 4 or 5 levels before I kind of got lost. And then basically started hitting the levels I'd already hit. And even when I looked up a map, it was very difficult to tell what I was looking at, or what direction I was going, or where exactly in the map I was at. Had it just been a basic level progression without the maze aspect, I think this game would have been playable. I still probably would have gave it a thumbs down, but it at least would have been playable, or more enjoyable than it was. The maze is just, it made it awful. It made it unfun trying to figure out where the hell to go and then not dying. I died so many times in the freaking maze, and it's just so irritating. So, much like the Dragon's Lair game for the Super Nintendo, this one, very much not worth playing. It is a thumbs down. Next up, Rex Ronan, Experimental Surgeon. You've seen this probably a dozen times in TV shows and cartoons and things. The surgeon shrinks down to microscopic size to get into the human body to save somebody's life. And in this case, it's a dude who smoked cigarettes forever. So you are going through the lungs and the teeth and the heart to destroy things that are blocking veins and arteries and tar and cancer cells. This right here is you flying through an artery to get to a different part of the body. In particular, I think in the top right there, you can see that we're heading towards the lungs. So the green blobs are basically mucus that are clogging up the airway. And so you're flying around your little ship trying to shoot those mucus blobs. And then you get into these other levels. You get some different weapons to clean the tar and stuff off the walls. The bigger issue is the game is the evil cigarette company injected the patient with evil nanobots that are thus attempting to kill you. Now, that doesn't make the game bad inherently. It does make the game real irritating because those robots aren't hard to kill, but your weapons suck. Like, the best weapon in the game is this flamethrower as far as killing, like, the tar off the lung walls or the teeth or the cancer cells, but it does very little damage to the enemy robots. And then when you get like your laser, it's a laser beam, so it's actually really hard to clear like swaths of space, and it's really it kills the bad robots. Here you can see me swinging and shooting all over the damn place, these stupid robots, and the graphics are kind of janky. The controls were not wonderful. The jump is really awful. It controls poorly. You get like stuck against walls, which is real irritating. It's just not a great game. Kind of like Captain Novel was like, let's bring awareness about diabetes to kids. It was more of a PSA game, edutainment game. I feel like this is kind of the same way. It's like, hey kids, don't smoke. Smoking's bad for you. And it's like, okay, we get it. We don't literally need a game to... There's the flamethrower weapon. We don't literally need a game to be like, hey, don't smoke. Like you've told us that most of our lives. So, and there's another different robot there. I mean, look at that. I'm literally right on top of it swinging. Can't hurt the damn thing. Finally, I just jump over it. It's just not great. Thumbs down. Next up, Suzuka 8 Hour. I actually had a little bit of hope for this game. The graphics, your character sprite, the wheel movement, which is just like some pixels changing frames, and the way you turn and lean with the bike actually looks really good. The race course looks like a Mario Kart. Like, it is so Mario Kart centric, it's ridiculous. It's that flat 2D moving bitmap image, basically. And it even like forces you into a half screen. Like the original Mario Kart, that bottom and single player, you had the top half of the screen. The bottom half of the screen was like the mini map with everybody's heads on it. This is the same thing. The bottom half is you, and then the top half is, your speed and your gas and whatever else is up there, which is irritating. Like, why didn't you give me the whole screen? And I don't know. The game does have music. It's not amazing, but it's there, which is better than a lot of games. And then you get the motorcycle noise. The controls are okay. You get a couple different bikes. You get a couple different options as far as like, do you want the fast bike with bad handling or the good handling with the less speed, or do you want kind of the middle of the road bike? All the bikes seem fairly controllable and, designed for different tracks. Some of the tracks have a lot more turns, especially sharp like hairpin turns. Some of them have bigger straightaways where that top speed bike can, really take its advantage. The bikes do come in a couple of different colors. This is... It's very, what I would say is light simulation game. So it's not like an F1 game where you're like, what's your tire pressure? And, how do you want your shocks and this and that? You just get those 3 types of bikes to choose from. And so it's got some choice in there, but nothing insane. When you wreck, it's kind of funny. Your guy kind of goes flying. I thought the wreck animation was good. There are other bikes. You can turn the collision on or off. I chose to have it turned off, which is great because I just drive right through people. The arrows, I think, turn up a little bit too late for them to give you an accurate warning. Like, they show it basically like as the turn is starting, and you're like, shit, I can into like, quick turn and all that. It felt okay. If there was a game I was going to give a thumbs up to on this set of 5 games, it would be Suzuka 8 Hour. However, I still gave it a thumbs down because it's just not that fun. It's not like a huge sense of speed so much as just a sense of uncontrollable. Like coming around the corner sometimes, like you don't feel like you're going fast. It just feels like for whatever reason the game doesn't want to turn right or control right. And I know that's supposed to be simulating your speed, like it would be harder to turn at speed, but it doesn't. It just feels off somehow. Had this been like a combat racing game like Road Rash, I think it would be superb. However, it's not like Road Rash. It is just a motorcycle racing game, and it's an acceptable one. I think if you like racing games, then this one isn't a terrible racing game to play. It is the first game I think I've seen where you actually have a motorcycle for the Super Nintendo, and that's saying something 3 years into the life of games here on the channel. 300 plus, almost 400 games in, and it's the first time I've seen a motorcycle like represented in the game. And it looks very similar to Super Hang-On for the Sega Genesis. So, I mean, that's something, Maybe some of the people from that team worked on this, I don't know. But I still gave it a thumbs down. Not an awful racing game, but not entirely fun either. Next up, Super Pinball Behind the Mask, made by the same people I think who made, I think it was Pinball Dreams, one I played not too long ago. And this one feels better. Pinball Dreams, it like scrolled up and down the table as the ball moved, which made it really hard to you had to kind of remember what was coming up and where the flippers were and things to try and gauge what was going on. This one squeezes the whole table onto one screen, which is great, but it does like angle it, which makes it a little hard to judge distances. It has 4 tables. It has decent enough music. It's got the DRM, which is, I don't know what DRM stands for. I just know what the hell it's acronymed. It's the red, light bulb screen, basically, that stuff would scroll across on the head box. There it is right there. Basically telling when you got multi-ball and, points multipliers and things like that. The physics didn't feel terrible in this game. My biggest issue with it was the giant gap between the flippers. So many times the ball would just zoom down there, and it's just like no matter, like you weren't going to hit that. Every table has its own head box, which is cool. I think my big takeaway from this game, though, was the table. They made the table look like there was a lot on it, but there just wasn't. And so things moved really, really fast, and it became very difficult to actually like keep the ball in play. Especially because, like I said, that flipper gap's really big. And so once it, you'd hit the ball straight forward, and it would hit something almost immediately and come straight back at the gap. And it was just kind of very, very difficult to both keep an eye on the ball and be responsive with your trigger flips. Pinball Dreams was way, way worse. There's no question of that. This game was better than that, but nowhere near the level of like Alien Crush on the TurboGrafx 16. Which that's one where you have to move up and down the table too, but that game feels like it's got the physics right and it's got exceptional visuals. Whereas this tried to go very literal on what a pinball table looks like. But so much so that it's just kind of visually unappealing. It's bland, I don't know. I want a little bit more fantastical ism with my pinball machines. And these just didn't cut it. Plus, they felt very samey. They both had the curve up towards the top going back in. And then the 2 like side pocket score spots on the sides. The tables felt very same, just kind of with a different thing slapped over it, and like maybe one different sort of middle thing. Like this one, the bumpers are over on the left, and in the Pirate game, I think they're up on the right. But otherwise, very samey. Thumbs down. Not worth playing. If you want a good pinball game, get yourself TurboGrafx 16, frankly. And finally, we come to the last game, Spectre. Spectre was a game created for the Macintosh computer as a tank combat game. It is very bland. So the concept is that you went into cyberspace and you're driving around cyberspace And then you have to collect data nodes, which in the game are represented by yellow flags. You have to collect 4 of them in each level to finish the level. And there are enemy tanks that are driving around shooting at you. And everything is in blue and black and purple, and the enemy tanks vary in color. The basic ones are red, but there are gray ones. There are also invisible ones. There are yellow ones, each with different levels of strength on both their shots and their defense. You can jump in the game, which feels a little weird. It's a great way to kind of get away from guys that are shooting at you. You also have a teleport option if you've got enough energy to do that, and it'll just teleport you somewhere else on the map, which is a good way to get away from guys. The game was playable. I think I got like 16 levels. I think there's like 100 levels in the game or something, but I got like 16 levels in. It's just not fun. What you see in the first level is basically what you're going to see for the entire rest of the game. It is the blue and black checkerboard floor with the purple horizon, some enemies, some random blue obstacles. You get your green power-up squares. Sometimes there's red squares on the ground that are bad for you. And that's it. It's just you collect the 4 flags. Like, it got to a point where I wasn't even trying to shoot the enemies most of the time. I was just racing to catch 4 flags to finish the level. And that seemed boring. Like, I want to fight the tanks, but the tanks do so much damage to you, especially when they gang up on you, that you can't survive. Because you can only take like 5 or 6 hits and then you die. It was very, very bland. There was no pizzazz to keep you involved or to make you be like, ooh, I can't wait to see what the next level is, or ooh, this level's trees and this level's something else. It was just this very, basic color pattern, and it's not fun, Here you can see they varied it up. Now the checkerboard is purple and black, and the horizon's blue. Ooh, look out. And the obstacles are red instead of blue. But that's it. It's not worth playing. Maybe when the game came out, probably in the late 80s, it was awesome for its time. But Jesus, if you want to play a tank combat game, play the first Super Battle Tank. Because I didn't really care for Battle Tank 2, but Super Battle Tank, the first one was a playable game. I enjoyed it well enough to. I think I might have gave that game a thumbs up. I don't remember, but it was definitely the better game. It was the better tank combat game because it actually felt like a combat. Because you wanted to fight the enemies, whereas in here it's like I said, you don't want to fight the enemies. You just die. So you just avoid them and collect your 4 flags and get to the next level. Boring, but that's yet another thumbs down. So 5 games in this set, all 5 were thumbs down. The closest to being good was Suzuka. And then the next set of 5 games doesn't look interstellar either. So, really sorting through the shovelware, I guess. I don't know. But that's it. I want to say thank you to everybody who's sticking with the channel and watching me. Anybody who checks me out on Twitch, the VOD's there, YouTube here. I appreciate y'all very much. We will see you guys later as I move into the 78th set of 5 games. Coming real close to 400 here. So thank you guys. I hope y'all have a wonderful rest of your day. We'll see you later.